Hello, this is Churan's Tiny Homestead, and I'm Evelyn Churan. So, the build. Um, on Amazon, raised metal gardens came on sale for $129. They were like $200 a piece, not more than 3 months ago. So I saw this sale. I decided to get four. It comes in a kit of four that you have to put together. And, actually, they're 6 foot long, 3 foot wide. They're actually worth it. So yeah, so I'm trying to get my life back together as best as I can. I got my camper back, and it's funny to look at it now because I lived in it for 7 years with all the maple leaves painted all over it, and, my license plates on the back from Alberta saying I survived the beast. And in 2016 with the wildfires, I was caught in that. They got a new documentary out about it that really describes it really good. And if you watch the documentary, The Hill That's Burning, I was caught behind that, which is one of the newer neighborhoods where I was caught in. Anyways, yeah, so I guess things are sort of working out. I mean, I have to go paycheck to paycheck with the build. It's just not affordable developing property when you don't have the tools. Even if I put in a well is $25,000. And then on top of that, I have to get blueprints for plumbing. And then I have to get a gray water tank for doing my dishes. The only thing I use water for is in the sauna, a shower, and I have a swimming pool. I use water for gardening, um, and doing dishes. And I just, for some reason, it doesn't sink into my head that another 50 to $60,000 just to wash my dishes is worth putting a well in, and all the extra plumbing and the extra this and the extra permits. And to me, it just, I don't know. I'd rather leave the property the way it is and keep my taxes down. Um, they have changed some laws for tiny homes, I know last year, in Ontario anyways, under building codes, and I followed all my building codes, and my gray water tank is my outhouse, and, there's nothing they can do about that. I get a septic truck that comes in once every 2 to 3 years to clean it out. It's a holding tank septic. It's a barrel in the ground. It's not like it's running free into the ground. It's not that at all. I did it properly, legally. So yeah, and then I'm watching this stuff going on with Parliament, especially with the voting. And the voting really got me because I live in Marks Day, Warren. My property taxes get paid to Marks Day, Warren, but it goes through the city of Sudbury. Then all the bylaws and everything, uh, apparently I'm under an organized township, but we don't have paved roads. We don't have water. You have to run in your own hydro. So I'm a little confused about unorganized and organized townships because they pick up the garbage here, they plow the road, they grate the road, and I get mail delivery. But I pay for all that in my taxes anyways, so whether I'm unorganized or organized. But because as soon as I ran the hydro, my property taxes went from $1,000 a year to 1,700. But by adding water tanks, extra water tanks, totes, and the swimming pool and a gas-powered pump water station, it brought down my house insurance by $200 a year, um, because we don't have fire pumps outside of our houses. And the last insurance company dumped me because of it. They said, move next to a fire hall. I said, pardon me, you took money from me for 2 years. You charged me $1,500 a year, and now you're telling me how to live? Like it was okay to take my money before, and now you're discriminating against me? And it was blatantly outright discrimination because of where I live. And I thought, not everybody wants to live in a city. You don't have a right to tell me where to live. which brings me to a whole pile of laws and the voting. The voting blows me away. So I'm watching this stuff on the news about how they cheated with the ballots. Apparently, is borderline legal, making the ballots so big. My ballots. This is wild. I'm handicapped, so they come to my house and I vote with two women that work for the ballot system or whatever it is they do. They volunteer. But because you're handicapped, they told me they have to fill out the ballot for you. So they show you the ballot, you read it, and you point to who you want to X that you want to vote for. So I said, as long as it's PC government, because I'm all Pierre Polivier, or the lady that runs Alberta there. She's a really good speaker. She knows her stuff, and she'd be a great prime minister too. But she's in Alberta. She's premier of Alberta. But either way, I looked at my ballots, and I'm like, okay, so for my provincial election, my riding was Cochrane, Ontario, which is hours and hours away from me. Not even near to Sudbury. I'm 38 kilometers from downtown Sudbury and 38 kilometers from downtown Sturgeon Falls. So I'm right in the middle of the two of them. So you would think I would vote for either Sturgeon Falls riding or Sudbury riding. I thought for sure Sudbury riding because my property taxes go to the Sudbury riding. Our garbage pickup comes from Sudbury. Our firefighters come from Sudbury, and we have volunteers in the township, but we don't have a steady fire hall. They're all volunteers, which brings me to unorganized township again. And then, so I vote my provincial election, and it's for Cochrane, Ontario, where we have the polar bears. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm voting for polar bears. They said, do you know any of these people you're voting for? I said, never heard of them. But as long as they're running for PC government, I'll check them off because I want a different government in parliament. I'm sick of the Liberals. I've never liked the Liberals, and I never will. They're crooks, period. They got some smart people on their team, but just, I don't know, too much drama. So anyways, we come around to the federal election. Now, so all of a sudden, this pushed up a quicker federal election. Okay. So I get my ballot delivered to me again, and I stand by their car, and I'm looking at my ballot, and my federal election ballot is through Manitoulin Island, Sault Ste. Marie area, which is complete opposite. That's going to Western Ontario, and I'm Eastern Ontario. So I'm kind of like, well, this is weird, like, and I told them, I said, why am I voting for Manitoulin Island, Sault Ste. Marie area when I live in Marks Day Warren and I'm 36 kilometers from Sudbury? Like, I don't understand this. They said, well, somebody made a mistake. I said, do you think? So here I voted for God knows who on Manitoulin Island, but again, I went PC government. So I just stuck with the PC government because my ballot for the Cochrane, there was like 15 people to pick from. No idea who the hell they are. Same thing with the Manitoulin Island federal election. There was like, I don't know. I don't even think there was that many people to pick for. But the jurisdiction that I had to vote for is not a jurisdiction I live in, nor will I ever live in it. And I just thought voting when it comes to provincial election is your jurisdiction. Now, I fall under the Nipissing district, not the West Nipissing. So I'm a little confused because I've never heard of that before. Like when I lived in Sudbury, I voted Sudbury jurisdiction. Like I lived in Valley East and I voted Valley East, Greater City. Well, it wasn't Greater City of Sudbury back then, but I voted Valley East for my mayor. And then we'd have a federal election, which was Sudbury district. And I don't know, we had an Asian fella back then. I'm talking like 30 years ago. Now, when I lived in Alberta, while I was living in Fort McMurray, my riding was Fort McMurray. So the people that were running directly in Fort McMurray, that's who I was voting for. Like, I didn't vote for who was riding in Edmonton in provincial elections. As a matter of fact, when I first moved home, until I could switch over my driver's license, they got me the ballots in Chelmsford, Ontario, for Fort McMurray, and my vote still went to Fort McMurray because it went by my driver's license. I went in for an early uh, vote because I was renting off a friend of mine living in her driveway in my camper, and so I went. Yeah, so that's how that worked. I actually voted for Fort McMurray because I was still a Fort McMurray resident. But now that I'm back in Ontario, I'm not voting for where I reside. And I just found that really, really odd because I don't live in Cochrane with the polar bears, and I don't live on Manitoulin Island in the Great Lakes. And I ended up voting for two complete opposite places from where I live, and quite a few hours away also. It's not like it's 20 minutes away, these places. They're like 6-hour drives away. So I found it a little odd that my voting had nothing to do with my jurisdiction, as far as I know. And even the girls that brought my ballots to me, and the men that brought my ballots, the provincial was two men, and these poor guys come from Kirkland Lake down to here, to the Sudbury area, which we fall under Greater City of Sudbury, but we don't. So we're not amalgamated. I don't know. It's really confusing. So I found elections really screwed up. And now I'm noticing on the news, like Northern Perspective is reporting all of this. And they're showing how in Parliament, some guy did like world longest ballot or something. It was like 4 feet long or something stupid. There was something like 400 people to vote for on this ballot. And which, by the way, was Pierre Poilievre's riding in Southern Ontario. And I thought, how is this even legal that they can do an extra long ballot where people can't even read it? So here they have this thing in jurisdiction that apparently anybody can register a party. So they got together a whole pile of people, registered all these parties, and it screwed up all the voting in Ontario. And now they're showing it in court. So that kind of, like, I still voted PC government. I wasn't indecisive that way, so my vote went to the right people. However, the fact that they built these ballots, like, I just don't understand how our laws allow this to happen, because it's kind of borderline cheating, I would think. Now, I don't know if all those votes would have went to Liberal, or if they would have went to PC, or if it would have went to the Green Party, whatever. I don't know. I don't know all of the logistics of it. But to me, it's cheating. And I thought, like, the people that did this, like, they outsmarted the government by doing it, because a lot of people don't like what's going on in Parliament. Well, 90% of Canadians aren't happy with what's going on in Parliament. We're overtaxed. They constantly lie to us. They get caught red-handed lying to us, yet there's no accountability. And I think that's what pisses Canadians off the most, is because there's no accountability for the voting, for the crimes they're committing. And it is criminal what they're doing. Like, I believe that Canadians are victims of indentured servitude, because the government keeps taking money from us. Like, when I was working, like, I'm not in, like, I still pay taxes like anybody else. I'm just not in a high tax bracket anymore. But I was in a very high tax bracket. 33% of my paychecks went to federal and provincial. And that didn't count union dues. That didn't count unemployment insurance. It didn't count, like, I read my pay stubs and I'm like, oh my God, these people charge me a lot. And I got to tell you, it was because I was in a higher tax back, like I was making more money, but even that, a lot of my back pay and overtime pay and termination pay, I never ever got it. So I was getting ripped off from both sides of the fence. The people I worked for, the union I worked that I paid to protect me and didn't, and the government did nothing to help me. I went everything from the labor board to human rights to Alberta Ombudsman. I went to labor relations. I went to RCMP. Um, Nobody would help me. I had to fight my case on my own. And in the process, I lost everything I owned. I ended up $88,000 in debt, which I will never, ever be reimbursed. I had to pay those debts off in order to get myself housing. It obliterated my credit rating. I no longer have credit cards. I bought out my credit cards. And this was like somebody had dropped a hint to me out west. They said, ask if you can just pay off the premium if they'll accept the deal and you pay them today. And that's when I got part of my settlement. And somebody out west had told me that. So I talked to the credit cards and they waived all of my interest. But in the process, I lose my credit cards. But they did give me paperwork saying I was fully paid and I owed them no money. So I have it in writing. I have a paper trail with it. And so it didn't clean up my credit. I just don't have any credit. So my credit rating is like 6.2, and which I don't even know what a good credit rating is because I don't have credit. So I have to pay cash for everything I do. So the build is far, far, far from complete because it's a lot of money to put together. Like I make good money, but not that good. Like I'm not rich or anything. And unfortunately, I fell through the cracks with my workplace. Nobody would help me. Nobody went up to bat for me. Nobody took it to court. Nobody fought for me. Nobody did. And I had to do it alone. And doing that and doing the research and just to do the research, like I sat at the welfare office every single day looking up laws and labor laws and studying labor laws and how do I get my money out of these people? And I'm telling you, I lived in parking lots for 7 years and some couch surfing. Like I babysat a house one winter till it was sold. That kept me warm and left my camper in their garage. And every time somebody come to look at the place, I'd clean up my air mattress and let them look at the place. And, I'd kind of get out of their hair. And I was house sitting because you can't have a house that's deserted. And should something happen, the insurance wouldn't have covered it. So I knew this family and I helped them out and they helped me. And so that covered me for one winter, but it's not a way to live. And then I had unemployment insurance. I actually had 6 years of unemployment insurance gained because I worked for 45 years without time off and never ever collected it. And finally, I said, the heck with this, I'm going to collect it. I need rest, right? And fortunately for us in oil and gas, in 3 months, you put enough hours in that it pays your unemployment insurance for a full year. So when you're getting run down and sick, you pretty much have to, you either work sick or you don't work at all. It's just, that's the way it is out there because jobs are hard. Like you do get the jobs, but the contracts are only good for 3 months at a time if you work with rig camps. I didn't work with rig camps. I did in the beginning. And then I went to oil and gas in the oil sands. And that's 12,500 people, 15,000 people per site that you're feeding 24/7. Like they're 24-hour kitchens. And if somebody's down in the kitchen, they'll be knocking at your door, waking you up, getting you back in the kitchen. You can barely get out of the kitchen and they're sending you to another kitchen to work. So you're running around for 12 to 14 hours a day. You're maybe sleeping 5 to 6 hours per day or night, depending on how they juggle your shifts everywhere. You go from day shift to afternoon to night to day shift to morning shift. There's like 6 different shifts and they just bounce you around like crazy. And eventually, mentally, you can't even think straight anymore because you're so exhausted and so injured. And I'm still not healed from all of the injuries I have. They wouldn't accept my physical injuries as injuries, but they did accept complex post-traumatic stress injury from all of the abuse I went through. It was constantly an abusive environment and very negative, and I have to stay away from that. And then I thought it was only me that it was happening to. And then I started going on to LinkedIn and places like that. And then I see a whole bunch of cops that are no longer police officers here in Canada. And they're speaking up and what they are going through and what they went through with their organizations. And apparently, I'm not the only one because there's quite a few people out there that have the same kind of lawsuits as mine, and the court system doing nothing, and the victim gets away. And a whole pile of us pretty much had, well, came pretty close to freaking claiming bankruptcy. And I thought it was only me. And there's a lot of cops that are going through this kind of stuff. And a lot of government workers are starting to bitch and complain now, too. So there's something wrong with Parliament not protecting the workers and the people. Like, everybody can see it. They can't hide it. I mean, they can juggle whoever they want around in Parliament. If it quacks like a duck, if it looks like a duck, and if it walks like a duck, it's a duck. And that's just the way it is. We are powerless to fight them. Everybody's tried everything. And it's not like people like me, I just never got the publicity. Stuff like what Chris Barber's going through. He owns his own company. I didn't go to the convoy, but I'm watching from the sidelines, and I did sponsor the James Top marches. But as it turns out, James Top marches was just fighting for the federal government workers. So that didn't really help me any. I mean, I was happy to see somebody doing it and standing up to the plate, but by the time he got to Parliament, nobody had anything to say to him anyways. The Prime Minister still wouldn't come out. So, he wouldn't give a speech to the truckers, nobody. And I found that very disrespectful towards Canadians. I mean, when he started calling us a minority, the people bitching are a minority. Well, we're not in a minority. Every career in Canada is struggling because of what this government's done. And it stems right back from bringing in a whole bunch of illegal immigrants, which we reported time and time and time again out west. And why would I train somebody from another country to lose my job? And that's exactly what happened to me. I was targeted. And lots of weird things happened to me along the way. And the more I complained, the more I lost. And finally, I didn't get everything back. But, I still don't have running water. I don't have running taps. I don't have hot water, stuff like that. I mean, I had to just make this barn so I could live in it. I needed a roof over my head. And my money only stretches so far. And the place has to be paid off because the banks won't help. If you don't have credit cards that you're paying every month, the banks will not help you. The more you pay your bills in cash, the less credit you have. Apparently, it doesn't count for credit, which I find is really stupid because the people that are actually doing things right are still being disciplined. And now they want to change the laws with the freedom of speech stuff and whatnot. I think they're right out to lunch up in Parliament. I don't know what to say. The more I watch, the more they make me physically sick to my stomach. Excuse me. As a matter of fact, talking about prices and stuff, groceries. I picked a whole pile of choke cherries and I make homemade juice. I don't add sugar to it. And I'm doing the same thing with oranges, lemons. I make all my own juice because to buy a pure juice in the grocery stores now, it went from $10 a bottle. In some stores, $20 to $30 a bottle for pure juice for like healthy choices. And that price is just beyond me. So I've been harvesting and foraging everything that I can on my property that's not poison. And I managed to harvest 5 or 6 different plants that make tea that I have dried and grinded down. And now I have 6 or 7 different kinds of tea for the whole winter. And all I had to do was pick it off the property, wash it, and that's it. And then raised gardens I'm building this year. I also put a small deck on my entrance that got built. I put the sauna in. I built a garden around it, and I started planting fruit trees because the grocery prices are going to be stupid. I'm not going to have this income forever. And I'm really worried about my family more than anything because they have small kids. And they have to pay for those kids till they're 21 years old and then some with this economy. I don't know if I'll be around that long, but I'm hoping to have a small food forest here. And after I'm gone, well, the kids can come out with their parents and they can pick all the fruit and whatever for free because fruit trees pretty much take care of themselves. And I'm building gardens, and I mean, maybe they can use this as a homestead and come out here on weekends, and they can do all their farming and stuff like that in the summers or whatever if they're interested. And obviously somebody will have to take care of the property, but or they can sell it, whatever they want to do, right? I can't take it to the grave, but I am trying to make it so that it's self-sustainable for whoever it ends up with. And it's slow. It's slow. It's very expensive to develop. So I'm trying to cut cost everywhere. And still continue the build, even if it's little things. And so I've got more gardens, raised gardens coming today that I'm going to put together. I want to have 20 of them all together and everything matching. Right now I was using some cedar posts and stuff, but I'm pretty sure I can use the cedar posts for other things, like to build a small wall behind my sauna. I've got post diggers and everything so that I have more privacy because I find I have a very nosy neighbor. And I don't like nosy people. I like mind my own business and leave me alone, right? Took them 3 years to get them to leave me alone. But I just don't acknowledge them, but I'm just going to keep building stuff that gives me privacy. And I would like to build a cold storage in front of this camp and just put a great big deck on top and have a bottom downstairs doorway to go in case of tornadoes and stuff, because I don't have a tornado shelter. And we get some pretty big storms here. And I would like to have that for safety should something happen. But the cost of building it, I'd have to do the build by myself. And I've never done that kind of work. And I just can't afford to hire a company, come in and do this and chalk out $100,000 to do it. I just don't have that kind of money. And the contractors I've had in the past, now I got steady workers in the summer and the winter, and they're helping me with a lot of stuff. Of course, I pay them for it, but they're not as expensive, and they're doing the jobs right and getting it done as cheap as possible for me. So I bought a few supplies, cement slabs. I got a few deck blocks yet. I've got 3 of those. My brother's got a couple of them I can have. My brother's given me small pieces of drywall and some extra wood that he has. And I don't want my brother to have to come here and work for me. And I don't want my son to come here and work for me because they work all week anyways in their jobs. And they don't need to come here, drive all the way out and then go to work. They need to sit. We have to visit. We have to try and find time for ourselves. So I don't want the kids coming here working, or my brother, or my closest friends, because that's not visiting. I'm not into going to people's places and having to work for them when you're supposed to be visiting. Like, that's just absolutely ridiculous. And I think if people want stuff on their properties, I mean, if you can get a couple of friends to build it for you for free, all to you, but I find that also can ruin friendships. So I don't really want people coming here to work unless they're being paid to work. So, anyways, and that way I got a say in who can come and who can't. And I like it that way. Anyways, I'm holding up, I guess, getting ready for the winter. I'm finishing off some gardens. I'd like to have 20 of them built before the snow comes. It was really cold this morning. I had to light a fire last night. I'm hoping that I can hold off with burning wood for at least another month. I mean, I'm burning wood in the sauna, but that only takes 3 logs to heat up the sauna, so it's not like a big fire. So I'm trying to stay away from the wood heat in the house this year as much as possible because I'm back on an asthma pump. It aggravates me. I get silica dust in my lungs from it, and I get very sick on it. So I'm trying to avoid the wood heat as much as possible, except with the sauna, because that silica dust doesn't go inside the sauna. And which is something I have to clean out today too, and get it ready for the winter. And I got to buy drain plugs for it because the small drilled holes it come with, it's not draining it properly, and it's harder to clean it. Like you have to wash out underneath the floors at least once a month to get all the sand and grass or whatever out. And because the kids go in and out, whatever, right? And I go in and out. The dog goes in and out. So, so I got to get to clean that before the winter. And I got to get 2 drain plugs to put in the bottoms so that it's easier to clean it. And you only clean it with baking soda. You don't use soap or anything like that because it becomes a toxin when you heat up the place. So you only use baking soda and water. And that disinfects and everything. So, and then you give it a rinse with water, and my water just falls underneath into the gravel. So it's kind of nice because it keeps my plants watered too. Anyways, I'll talk to you all soon, and you have a nice day and take care. Churan's Tiny Homestead. Bye.